Hard to believe, but after almost 100 years in existence, the Looney Tunes finally have their first fully animated theatrical film. Of course, they've got a lot of shorts over the years. That's how they started, and a couple of Space Jam movies as well. But this is the first fully animated film ever to be released theatrically for the Looney Tunes. Let's talk about the day the Earth blew up. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. This features Daffy, Porky, and Petunia Pig, among some other non-Looney Tunes specific characters, but they are the main three. So yes, we're not going to see any Bugs Bunny here, no Elmer Fudd, no Yosemite Sam, but this focuses on Daffy and Porky and Petunia. And we'll talk about all of this here in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already for Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. Love it when you guys return and check out my videos. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell too, so you get the alerts for all my drops. And you can just like this video or comment below too. That stuff, of course, helps the channel out tremendously. So there was supposed to be a Looney Tunes movie released right around this time from Warner Brothers called Coyote versus Acme. In the industry and in movie circles, this has very famously been shelved and written off for tax purposes by Warner Brothers. People were up in arms about it. The star of the film in human form, Will Forte, has gone on many rants about it, saying, how could they do this? This was a wonderful movie. Put it out, put it out, put it out. But now that we have a distributor for Warner Brothers Animation, which is this company, Ketchup, which I'm not familiar with, but they're the ones that have released this film, The Day the Earth Blew Up, and because of this getting a theatrical release, and look, it didn't do boffo numbers at the box office, but it has an 88% with critics on Rotten Tomatoes. People are talking about it, and so Ketchup may actually end up buying the rights to distribute this Coyote versus Acme. So if nothing else comes out of this movie, that is a success story, we hope. But in any event, yes, the critics are loving this movie. Audiences really didn't show up too much for it. It's mostly gone from theaters already, but it will be releasing on DVD and Blu-ray in May, and probably before that coming to HBO Max. Or it's just called Max now, but you know what I mean. So anyway, this is directed by Peter Browngarden, who this is his first feature film, but he has a ton of work in some of the more hip animated series of the last, 20 years. He worked on things like The Venture Brothers and Chowder and Adventure Time and Futurama. So, obviously, he's got his hands in what is a little cooler than some of the other shows around, and think pieces more than just your sort of dumbed down recycled jokes. And now he didn't write this, but a bunch of people wrote it. There's 12 people that wrote this movie. But you know what? That makes sense, because a lot of this is, gag related, as we would expect with the Looney Tunes. So probably there were a few writers, that specialized in the gags, and a few that were, more based on the plot and stuff. So what is the plot of this movie? So this is sort of the style of a sci-fi B movie from the 50s or 60s. That's sort of what they were going for here. They are in the present day, though, because I feel like there are references to present day things. So they are taking place in the present, but the sort of themes held are like those of a 50s sci-fi movie, and the look comes really directly from Bob Clampett. He was one of the major animators in Looney Tunes history in the 40s. And so these styles of the characters and the treatment of the characters really are kind of steeped in that era. Like when Daffy Duck first came out, he was really like the looniest of the tunes. He was very avant-garde and very silly. And then as we got more into the later 40s and 50s version of Daffy Duck, that probably more people know now, he really changed as a character. This is sort of an amalgamation of the two. He's not doing his flips on his head and going woohoo, 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 down the street like he did a lot in those 30s cartoons and 40s. But there is definitely a lot of the wackiness of Daffy still here. And we have Eric Bazua, who is voicing him here. He voiced a handful of the tunes here in this Space Jam movie, the recent one, with LeBron, including Bugs Bunny, and Daffy Duck there. Now, he didn't voice Porky Pig there. That was somebody else. And I think that we might have had better luck with the other gentleman, because I think Porky Pig's voice is just a little bit off for me. But Bazoo's Daffy Duck is great. He also does some other characters in the Warner Brothers sort of line, including Fred Flintstone, for anything recent with him, including, like Fruity Pebbles commercials or whatever. That's him. And he does a really, really good job with a lot of that stuff. His Porky Pig maybe left a little bit to be desired. Daffy Duck, for me, right on the money. And this is a fun movie. It's not a great movie, I will say that. Look, there's a reason that I think a lot of times these shorts were just as they were, like 7 minutes, 8 minutes. They were called one-reelers back in the early days, but with the advent of television and everything, they sort of packaged some of those old shorts and made some new ones. And 3 7-minute shorts or 8-minute shorts is 21 to 24 minutes. You throw some commercials in, there's a half-hour Looney Tunes show. So the Looney Tunes maybe were not designed for an hour-and-a-half long movie, but certainly this sustains the interest, I think, with the plot. I think littler kids will be kind of lost with a lot of the jokes. Not that they're grown up, but they're sort of breaking the fourth wall a little bit, and I'm not sure if some of the references are going to go over little kids' heads, but look, they're there for the adults. I mean, I watched the old Looney Tunes cartoons, and there were, the movie stars from the 30s and 40s. I didn't know who the hell they were, and now, as I'm an adult and getting into some older movies, I'm like, oh, okay, that's, their version of that or whatever. But this is a great project in that it exists. I am so happy that this was made and that it got to theaters, and that it has people talking about the Looney Tunes and maybe giving us a glimpse at Coyote versus Acme. But I do think at an hour-and-a-half runtime, it runs a little bit stale. I don't think it's as funny as it could be, certainly. But there are like some wacky sort of montages, and the animators went all out with sort of the different eras of the Looney Tunes in those moments. One of the montages I'm thinking of specifically had some very kind of like psychedelic kind of vibe to it, which reminds me more of like the 50s era of the cartoons. But in any event, yes, this is not a great Looney Tunes movie. I'm not sure if it's one I'll ever sit down and watch again, but I certainly enjoyed watching it once. I got some good laughs from it. My nephews that I took enjoyed it as well. I will leave The Day the Earth Blew Up a Looney Tunes movie with a B minus. I teetered on little C plus maybe too, but I think just the fact that they pulled this off is a feat unto itself. So I have to give them a slight extra point for that. Like I said, you can still see this a little bit, I think, in theaters, but it will be coming to Max soon and at the end of May on DVD and Blu-ray. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time.